1943. Station 9. The Fry, one of the most secret research facilities in Britain. Douglas Everett stepped quietly into the staff bar that evening carrying something no one around him could have imagined. 26 ounces of compressed death, hidden perfectly inside his sleeve. He laughed with colleagues, traded stories, ordered a few drinks, and blended into the warm chatter of the room. Not a single person noticed the 8.75-inch device strapped above his elbow, a weapon designed for a moment that should have been impossible. During a casual pause in conversation, Everett lifted his arm slightly and pressed his thumb forward. A .32 ACP round left the muzzle and disappeared into a nearby sandbag. The sound it made measured quieter than a snapping finger. No one turned. No one reacted. No one even realized a shot had been fired. Everett had just demonstrated that British engineers had cracked the oldest requirement in covert killing, firing a lethal round in a crowded room without anyone realizing it happened. The strange weapon responsible for this feat looked wrong, behaved brilliantly, and arrived too late in the war to earn combat glory. Today, only 3 surviving examples remain. The sleeve gun stands as one of the most ingenious assassination tools that never saw battlefield use. Before we go deeper, make sure to subscribe, because what Station 9 built during the war was unlike anything found in conventional arsenals. And each device tells a story stranger than the last. The issue facing British intelligence in 1940 to 1941 was brutally clear. SOE operatives needed a way to eliminate specific high-value individuals inside occupied Europe. Nazi officials, Gestapo informants, collaborators who exposed resistance cells. These men rarely walked alone. They traveled with escorts, checked their surroundings constantly, and maintained overlapping layers of security. Traditional assassination techniques were too risky. A knife required close combat and left obvious evidence. Poison took too long and could be traced. A standard handgun produced enough noise to summon every guard within seconds. Even if an SOE agent managed a successful kill, the sound of gunfire destroyed any chance of escape. Station 9 already had one solution in development: the well rod, another silent pistol. It came in .32 ACP and .380, using a ported barrel that bled off powder gases into expansion chambers. Rubber and leather wipes sealed around the passing bullet, and metal baffles slowed the remaining pressure. The result was about 73 decibels, the sound of a pellet gun. Quiet enough, effective enough, and absolutely deadly. Roughly 2,800 well rods were produced, and they saw confirmed use in Norway, Denmark, and France. But the well rod was still a foot long with its suppressor attached, and it weighed nearly 39 ounces. Concealable, yes, but not invisible. Any pat-down risked discovery. A German guard finding a rigid 12-inch cylinder on a suspect guaranteed immediate arrest and probable execution. The well rod also required drawing, aiming, and firing, movements that could alert bystanders. British intelligence needed something far more specialized. A weapon that could survive a full search. A weapon operatives could deploy instantly, even during close physical contact. A weapon that left no case, no flash, almost no trace. A weapon you could fire during a handshake or while embracing a target. Major Hugh Quentin. Alan Reeves was the man who answered that challenge. Born in Seaford in 1909, Reeves studied engineering at Cambridge's Sidney Sussex College. He joined Station 9 as a prolific inventor and went on to design some of the most bizarre and effective tools of clandestine warfare: the well rod, the well bike folding motorcycle, the Wellman one-man submarine, and several other secret devices. All Station 9 creations carried the well prefix, taken from Welwyn, the site of the Fry. There was the Wellgun prototype SMG, the Wellman submersible, the Well Lighter supply submarine, and more. Among these inventions, Reeves began sketching a design in 1943 labeled simply Sleeve Gun Mark I, item 254 in the classified SOE device catalog. He used the same integral suppressor principle that had made the well rod so quiet: a ported barrel releasing gas into a carefully engineered chamber, leather and rubber wipes gripping the bullet, and baffles that slowed the last escaping gases. The suppressor degraded after about 15 shots, but that didn't matter. The sleeve gun was never meant to survive a second mission. The SOE catalog even stated bluntly, "Silencing element cannot be removed or replaced. Weapon not intended for prolonged service." It was effectively a single-shot tool designed to be fired once, accomplish its mission, and then disappear. But what made the sleeve gun revolutionary wasn't its silencing. It was its shape. Reeves threw out the idea of a conventional pistol. Instead, he produced a cylindrical tube, 8.75 inches long and 1.25 inches in diameter, something that looked more like a dull metal wand or small flashlight. No grip, no hammer, no magazine bulge, nothing that would snag on clothing or stand out during a search. It weighed 26 ounces, heavy enough to double as an emergency striking weapon, light enough to move naturally inside a coat. Chambered in .32 ACP using 7.65 by 17 mm Browning ammunition, it delivered the perfect balance of stopping power and subsonic velocity. Most ingenious of all was the firing mechanism, a knurled sliding thumb switch near the muzzle that had to be pushed forward and then pulled back, a deliberate two-stage action impossible to trigger accidentally, especially while hidden inside a sleeve. And with that design, the final assassin's tool was born. The sleeve gun's firing system acted as both the trigger and safety in one unified motion. There was no separate lever, no switch, no button. The operator had to perform a deliberate two-step push-and-pull action, a sequence impossible to trigger by accident, yet instantly responsive when a kill needed to be delivered without hesitation. Everything about the weapon was built with total deniability in mind. No manufacturer marks, no British acceptance stamps, nothing identifying its origin beyond a tiny serial number and cryptic inspection symbols. If the sleeve gun ever fell into enemy hands, no one could prove where it was made or who had supplied it. Behind the scenes, the Birmingham Small Arms Company manufactured the weapons, though BSA has never formally acknowledged this part of its wartime production. It is believed these sleeve guns were produced in small, sealed workshops far removed from ordinary military contracts, where craftsmen worked under strict compartmentalization and little documentation survived. The first version, Sleeve Gun Mark I, revealed serious flaws. Chambered in .22 long rifle instead of .32. ACP, the cartridge lacked the stopping power necessary for a contact assassination. Its trigger mechanism sat inside a separate housing tube attached to the suppressor, making the weapon awkward and bulky. Post-war German intelligence assessments described it as clumsy and ungainly. Worse still, the trigger pull was dangerously light. A sudden movement, a stumble, or even tightening the forearm could theoretically fire the weapon while still inside the sleeve. For an SOE operative, the threat of shooting themselves before reaching the target was very real. Because of these risks, production of the Mark I was halted after fewer than 50 units. The Mark II solved nearly every problem. Upgrading to .3 2ACP provided reliable lethality at contact range. The trigger assembly was re-engineered. Instead of being enclosed in a secondary housing, the trigger bar now lay flush with the tube itself, vastly reducing bulk. The knurled button required a backward tilt before the forward push, meaning each shot demanded conscious intention, a necessary safeguard for agents working under crushing stress. Engineers also repositioned the cocking lever, minimizing the chance it might snag on sleeve fabric during deployment. These enhancements transformed the sleeve gun from a fragile prototype into a true assassination instrument, refined specifically for covert, close-quarters elimination. The concealment system, however, was the true innovation. At the suppressor end was a small lanyard hole through which operatives threaded a thin, elastic cord. This cord was anchored to the shoulder or upper back beneath a coat or jacket. In its ready state, the sleeve gun rested hidden above the elbow, perfectly balanced inside the clothing. When the moment came, gravity and a subtle flick of the arm allowed the weapon to slide silently into the operative's palm. Because the design had no protruding sights, grips, or mechanical edges, it moved smoothly, never catching on fabric. The sleeve gun's intended role was direct contact assassination. The muzzle was meant to be pressed against the target's body. According to the SOE catalog, it could be used at very close range, ideally touching the target, but potentially effective up to 3 yards. This limit reflected both the ballistic drop of suppressed .32 ACP and the difficulty of precise aim with such minimal sighting features. The muzzle itself was concave, allowing the tube to sit flush against clothing or skin. An operative could approach under the guise of a greeting, a handshake, a friendly embrace, or a pat on the back. The weapon dropped into the hand. One controlled motion, a push and pull. The round fired at roughly 73 decibels, quieter than the murmur of a busy room. After the shot, the operative simply let go. The elastic cord snapped the sleeve gun upward, retracting it instantly into hiding and taking the spent casing along with it. No brass on the ground. No gun visible. No powder burn to identify the shooter. Moments later, guards would rush in to find only a collapsing victim and a shocked crowd. The assassin could blend into the confusion, play the role of a bystander, and walk away unnoticed. Station 9's commanding officer, Lieutenant Colonel John Robert Vernon Dolphin, oversaw much of the weapon's development beginning in mid-1943. Scientific work fell under Professor D.M. Newitt, a respected fellow of the Royal Society. Together, they fostered a creative, boundary-pushing environment at the Fry. This atmosphere produced remarkable devices, including the bizarre remote control pistol, a modified Colt 1903 mounted to a body harness and fired via a Bowden cable hidden inside the sleeve. Only 40 to 50 of those were ever made, but the sleeve gun's story was still far from finished. The sleeve gun's production run was astonishingly small, somewhere between 150 and 200 units. Such limited numbers strongly suggest that SOE leadership understood its extremely narrow operational purpose. It was a precision instrument for a very specific kind of mission, not a general-use weapon. Before we go on, if you're enjoying this deep dive into forgotten British covert engineering, make sure to subscribe. It helps us keep uncovering technology the world was never supposed to know about. Understanding the sleeve gun's reputation requires looking closely at when it was manufactured. According to documentation held by the Imperial War Museum, meaningful production did not begin until late 1944, possibly even early 1945. This was catastrophically late. The window between its development, field distribution, training of agents, and actual operational deployment slammed shut almost immediately with Germany's surrender on 8 May 1945. The weapon was designed, tested, refined, and built. But the war simply ended too soon for it to earn the battlefield legacy it deserved. Despite countless rumors, no confirmed combat use of the sleeve gun has ever been documented. No after-action reports, no SOE mission logs, no resistance memoirs claiming handshake kills, nothing. This silence becomes even more striking when compared to the Welrod, the sleeve gun's older brother. The Welrod's combat history is extensive and well documented. Danish SOE agent Sven Nielsen used a Welrod to eliminate a German sentry at Kastrup Airport in December 1943. In January 1944, Danish resistance members used Welrods to assassinate the Nazi collaborator Nordahl. Multiple confirmed operations took place across Denmark, Norway, and France. The Welrod survived into the Falklands War and even Operation Desert Storm, with soldiers and intelligence officers referencing it in memoirs, post-war interviews, and debriefings. Museums preserve numerous captured examples. The sleeve gun has no such record. No wartime memoir describes firing it. No SOE debrief mentions operational use. No German intelligence archive references a captured specimen. Germans were certainly aware of British covert weapons. They were stunned when they recovered a remote control pistol Mark I from the body of SOE agent Karl Brunt in Denmark in 1941. Yet even then, the sleeve gun remained invisible. It simply never entered the operational bloodstream in time. Still, the weapon's technical superiority over both Allied and Axis equivalents is undeniable. Take the American OSS's Stinger pen gun. Chambered in .22 short, around 50,000 units were produced, dwarfing British numbers. But early versions suffered terrifying reliability issues: misfires, burst barrels, inconsistent ammunition ignition. OSS instructors advised agents to press the barrel into the base of the target's skull and fire upward into the brainstem. This required dangerously close positioning with an anemic cartridge. Worse, the pen gun offered no suppression. The sharp pistol-like crack would instantly expose the assassin, and the operator was left holding obvious evidence. The OSS also produced the Sedgley glove pistol, chambered in .38 special. More powerful than the pen gun, it fired when the wearer punched their target, a brutal mechanic. But concealment was poor. The bulky barrel protruded from the glove, and it relied on perfect sleeve coverage to avoid being noticed. Like the pen gun, it lacked any silencing capability. Firing it indoors would both deafen the operator and alert every guard within earshot. Both American systems were compromises, creative but deeply flawed. Then there was the FP-45 Liberator, a single-shot pistol produced at staggering industrial scale, 1 million units manufactured in just 11 weeks at a cost of $2.10 per gun. Adjusted to 2024 value, that's around $40. But the Liberator was never intended for covert assassination. It had an unrifled barrel, limited range, no suppression, and almost no accuracy. It was designed as a weapon for resistance fighters to kill a guard, steal a better gun, and discard the FP-45. Its mission was practical, but completely different from the sleeve gun. On the German side, the absence of comparable weapons is just as revealing. Despite extensive research into Gestapo, SD, and Abwehr archives, historians have uncovered no German purpose-built assassination devices. Instead, German services relied on conventional pistols. The Walther PPK in .32 ACP or .380 ACP was common, and focused on intimidation, brute force, and open surveillance rather than discreet elimination. Pre-war hunting stores in Germany sold gas pen devices containing pepper spray, but these were civilian self-defense tools, not intelligence weapons. The difference in philosophy is clear. Germany emphasized overt dominance. Britain emphasized subtle, surgical sabotage. Compared to all Allied and Axis equivalents, the sleeve gun had several unmatched advantages. A true integral suppressor, not an accessory, rubber and leather wipe technology achieving roughly 73 decibels. Whisper quiet, automatic evidence concealment, thanks to the elastic retraction mechanism. A completely untraceable construction with sanitized components. A concave muzzle optimized for silent, flush contact shots. A design explicitly crafted for one purpose: kill at conversation distance without being detected. In engineering terms, the sleeve gun was the apex predator of covert assassination devices, even if world events robbed it of the chance to prove itself. Only 3 confirmed examples survive today. The Royal Armoury's National Firearms Center in Leeds houses serial numbers 1 and 11. Their collection includes numerous SOE artifacts, including the only known surviving Welrod Mark I prototype. Curator Mark Murray Futter has published research clarifying the long-standing confusion between the sleeve gun and the similar well wand. A third authenticated specimen sits in the Norwegian Armed Forces Museum at Bergenhus Fortress, catalogued under inventory numbers NHM700014 and NHM703197. And yet the story of the sleeve gun still isn't over. The surviving sleeve gun held in Norway may owe its presence there to SOE operations or supply drops delivered to Norwegian resistance groups. Although no definitive provenance has ever been released, its placement illustrates just how rare these weapons truly are. Their scarcity is no accident. SOE doctrine required field operatives to destroy every device that might compromise them during missions or withdrawals. Nothing identifiable was ever meant to fall into enemy hands. The 3 surviving sleeve guns almost certainly represent evaluation pieces kept at Station 9, or training units that were never sent into active theaters. Any weapon that made it into the field, whether fired or never used, was almost certainly dismantled, buried, or melted down by agents as the war ended. Primary source material surrounding the sleeve gun remains frustratingly incomplete. Many SOE archives were destroyed in the devastating 1946 Baker Street fire, and additional documents were deliberately weeded in the late 1940s. What remains today is scattered across specific collections. The National Archives at Kew preserve SOE's HS series, including HS7/27, Lieutenant Colonel J. L. Bliss's Internal History of Experimental Station 6, written in 1945, and HS8/969, listing the locations of various ISRB stations. Personnel files stored in HS9 are often restricted for up to a century after the subject's birth, leaving many names and operational details sealed. The Imperial War Museum, however, holds several invaluable pieces, including a sleeve gun Mark II and original audio recordings from SOE's 1998 conference discussing weapons development. The most thorough published reference remains SOE, The Scientific Secrets, authored by Frederick Boyce and Douglas Everett, the same Everett who famously fired the suppressed round inside Station 9's staff bar, proving the weapon's astonishing silence. More recently, researcher Anders Thygesen published the first deep scholarly analysis of the Welrod in Arms and Armor, Volume 19, Issue 1, 2022, utilizing sources that had never been accessed before. Yet, even with renewed academic attention, key sleeve gun blueprints remain classified in the United Kingdom to this day, an extraordinary and telling detail for a World War II-era weapon. It suggests the underlying suppressor and concealment technology still carries modern sensitivity. Although the sleeve gun left no confirmed kills, its strategic impact was far from negligible. German security branches operating in occupied territories knew that British intelligence possessed extremely advanced silent weapons. Captured well rods, testimonies from interrogated agents, and intercepted reports made this clear. That knowledge forced Germany to harden security around high-value individuals. Public appearances were reduced. Guard teams grew larger. Security checks became more intrusive. The simple fact that the British could kill silently at handshake distance, even if they never did, created a psychological fog that altered Nazi operational behavior. The sleeve gun contributed directly to this environment of fear, even without firing a shot in anger. Its inventor, Major Hugh Quentin Allen Reeves, met an end tragically at odds with his wartime achievements. On 25 October 1955 at RAF Biddiswell, Reeves was pulled into the intake of a Hawker Hunter jet engine during noise control tests. A man whose life's work revolved around controlling sound died in one of the loudest industrial accidents imaginable. Yet, even after the war, Reeves continued to innovate, earning patents from 1950 to 1955 in fields ranging from diving technology to aircraft wheel chocks. His career ended early, but his influence across covert engineering remained profound. Despite the sleeve gun's lack of operational history, it occupies a powerful place in modern storytelling. Films, novels, and video games have embraced the image of a silent assassin's weapon hidden inside a jacket sleeve. Most depictions credit it to Soviet KGB operatives or American clandestine services, rarely acknowledging its true British origin. The idea of a weapon that slides instantly into the hand, fires a whisper-quiet shot, and retreats out of sight is simply too captivating to ignore. Its legend thrives precisely because it represents perfection in theory, the assassin's weapon that never had the chance to fulfill its intended purpose. Technically, the sleeve gun solved every problem presented to Station 9 engineers. Its suppression matched the Welrod's performance. Its retraction system eliminated evidence flawlessly. The concave muzzle ensured silent flush contact firing. Every measurable requirement was met or exceeded. Its failure to see combat was a matter of timing, not engineering. The contrast with Germany's approach is instructive. Britain invested early and heavily in clandestine technology, establishing Station 9 as early as August 1939, months before the war escalated. When SEOE absorbed the site in 1940, British engineers had already spent years refining asymmetric tools, a full 2-year head start over the American OSS, founded in 1942. This lead allowed Britain to develop integral suppressors, sliding trigger systems, elastic retraction mechanisms, and compact assassination devices unmatched by any Axis equivalent. Germany, meanwhile, directed its genius toward conventional weapons: the STG-44 rifle, MG-42 machine gun, and Tiger tanks. Their intelligence branch relied on intimidation and overt violence, not precision covert elimination. The sleeve gun embodied the opposite philosophy: kill quickly, leave no trace, and vanish. It all returns to one moment. April 1943. The Frythe, Welwyn, Garden City. Douglas Everett stepped into a crowded bar carrying 26 ounces of engineered silence. He lifted his arm, fired a .32 caliber round into a sandbag, and the room continued laughing, unaware that a weapon had just spoken. The suppressor worked. The concealment worked. The deployment worked. Britain had created a perfect assassination tool, just not in time to use it. 3 examples survive today. Its blueprints remain sealed 8 decades later. No confirmed kills exist, yet its reputation eclipses many weapons that saw years of combat. The sleeve gun remains the most successful covert weapon that never killed anyone, a reminder that sometimes the most brilliant engineering victories are the ones that never leave a trace. If you enjoyed this deep investigation into Britain's hidden weapons, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment telling me which covert device you want uncovered next.